All right, it is now 5:05 and we are going to get started. Thank you for waiting. Um, Welcome to our parent question and answer session. And we want to remind you again that this meeting will be live streamed. The link is in the chat, and you do not have to be on both the Google Meets or the Google live stream. You can choose either or. Next slide, please. So I am Cherie Jackson. I am the principal of Robbinsdale Middle School. This is my 4th year as the principal, and I am honored to be here to serve you in that capacity. And I would like to also introduce you to some people who help us run the show at Robbinsdale Middle School. I will give them a chance to speak in a moment. We have Jay Hancock, who's one of our assistant principals, and he is serving 8th grade students. Joe Purvis, he is our 7th grade assistant principal, and he is serving our 7th grade students. And Constance Anderson, she is new to our team, and she's our admin TOSA, and she is working with 6th grade students and BAR. We also have joining us Miss Tracy Mole, and she is the special education supervisor, and she and I share the role of supervising our special education information for our school. We also have joining us Mr. Laverne Shelby and Mr. David Keck, and those are our awesome school culture climate team members. And I wanted to open the floor up so that they could introduce themselves to you. And just remind you that this is being live streamed, it is being recorded, and we will be posting the recording on our website. We have less than 30 minutes to provide you with this information and have time for a Q&A. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat box as those questions arise, because some of the questions may be answered during our presentation. And now I'm going to turn it over to our APs and our other guests.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jay Hancock. I'm an assistant principal here, as Ms. Jackson said, and I work with 8th grade this year. So if you have any questions along the way or throughout the year, please feel free to reach out either through phone or through email.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Joe Purvis. I am the assistant principal also at Robbinsdale Middle School for 7th grade. This is my 6th year as an assistant principal in the district. If there's any questions that you have, also feel free to reach me through email or phone. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Constance Anderson, and I am, like Ms. Jackson has said, I am the admin TOSA at RMS, and I'm working with 6th grade and also the BAR program. So if you have any questions or concerns, you can always reach out to me via phone or through email.
Good evening. As Ms. Jackson said, I am Tracy Mall. I am the interim special education supervisor for middle schools in Robbinsdale. So please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions around special education, both through phone or email. Thank you.
Mr. Shelby, we just support, I support all of our middle schools for the district as well as high school as it relates to the equity work. And so just want to say we're glad to be here, and I look forward to supporting your students in all of their needs for this year as well. Thank you.
I'm David Keck. It's my first year here at RMS. I am the climate and culture specialist role, like Ms. Jackson alluded to earlier. So I look forward to providing support and as well as needs, equitable needs. Please feel free to reach out to me, email or phone.
And before we go on, I forgot to acknowledge that we also have someone from the district, our curriculum and instruction counterpart or our point person, Mr. Kerwin Bell. So if he is on the line, Mr. Bell, would you like to say something before we move on?
Sure. Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Good evening, Robbinsdale Middle School campus families. My name is Kerwin Bell. I work in the curriculum instruction department as a teacher on special assignment, supporting Robbinsdale Middle School. Happy to be here this evening.
And thank you. So next slide, please. As we stated, this information is also being live streamed, and we will post this link to our recording on our website. For additional information, please visit our Smart Start information that is linked to the ardell.org website, as well as our rms.ardell.org. We want to make sure that you have multiple ways of getting the information that we are telling you, and you have a lot of different ways that you can receive this. We are currently in Distance Learning Plus model, as you see, as highlighted by the green arrow. And we're going to give a high-level overview of Distance Learning Plus, hybrid, and in-person models, similar to the information sessions that we had in August. Next slide, please. So the next slides, as I alluded to, are going to be a brief recap of the information. So first and foremost, we want you to know that we are all working super hard as a district with our cabinet members, with our district leaders, with our equity specialists, and our building administration throughout the district, and community input to give you the most up-to-date information. So these decisions are being made, of course, based on health and the safety of our students, staff, and families. And as you see our Smart Start guide, Mr. Hancock did put that in our chat if you want to download that, and you can pin that or bookmark that to your laptop or your smart device so that you can refer to it often. Decisions, again, we're focusing on the social, emotional needs of our students, staff, and our community. We're using equity and fairness and inclusion in making our decisions, trying to meet the diverse needs of all of our students and staff while continuing the instruction, which is based around our state standards, and using our UDV or our unified vision, our district vision, and equity policies as guiding documents. Of course, the considerations we've included are safety for everyone, equity, achievement, how does that look to achieve in a Distance Learning Plus model? Also, what information have we gotten from staff, parents, students, and our communities? Looking at our operations and how we are operating the buildings within Robbinsdale area schools, what instruction looks like in a district distance learning or a hybrid model, and of course, how are we going to give the best technological successes during all of these models. Next slide, please. So the steps that have been taken so far, this is again a high-level overview. We are using the consultation that we have with the Minnesota Department of Education, also known as MDE, the Minnesota Department of Health, which is also known as MDH, and our county health officials, which would be Hennepin County. We're looking at, again, feedback from students, staff, families during our planning processes, and we're reviewing our staffing to see and to ensure that we have the staffing levels that we need for hybrid and in-person learning models. And this is going to be an ongoing review from our local communities, from MDE and MDH, and it's also going to include the surrounding areas where our students and our staff live, so that we can use that as a consideration factor. And the bold portion is that our county data is reviewed twice a month, usually on the 15th and the 30th, to continue our review of our 14-day data cycles, because we know as we see trends, we can use that information to inform our decisions about distance learning plus, hybrid, or in-person models. Next slide, please. And now I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Purvis.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. So there's going to be a shift in our model. And our pre-K through 5 students are basically planning to return to school in face on November 9th this year. So we get to see our little babies. That'll be an amazing thing for them and for our teachers, because we miss all of our students. Hopefully at some point in time, we can do something like this for middle and high school. But until then, our secondary or our centers-based special education students will transition to hybrid model also on November 9th. And so there'll be more info that is going to be sent to our families after our MEA break, which is this week, Thursday and Friday. So look for your emails after this week, next Monday. And our current plan right now is basically to transition all the remaining middle and high school students on Tuesday, January 26th, based on the model that aligns with the current COVID count data. And just to let you know what that looks like, it's basically how many cases there are in our county, how many cases there are in our county per 10,000 per 2 weeks. And so that's how we figure out our data. Next slide, please. All right, so hybrid for secondary students. Now, in order to basically stay within the realms of social distancing, we are limiting our capacity at our school to 25%. And that's huge because we want to make sure that we're providing safety for not only your students, your babies, most prized possessions, but also our staff as well, and everybody in the community. So how is this kind of taken into consideration? When we look at our room size, this was, part of our consideration, but even with a 50% capacity, it wasn't feasible. We weren't able to maintain that social distancing rule with 50% of our students, hence the 25%. Basically what that's gonna look like, it's gonna look like most of our students will attend maybe 2 days every other week. And 25% of our students would be inside of the building face-to-face, while 75% of our students will be in a remote setting, at home, online. So the capacity to live stream classes on a large scale basis is untested, but I think we're making great gains at this point. Next slide, please. And I'll hand it to Constance.
All right, so our student and family support centers. So at RMS, we have multiple support systems for our students. So for our counselors, we have 3 counselors for each grade level. So our 6th grade counselor is Mr. Myers, and our 7th grade counselor is Mr. Grant, and our 8th grade counselor is Ms. Backman. We have mental health support, we have a therapist, psychologist, and I think we have 2 social workers at RMS. We have also academic tutors through TRIO. We have parent coaching and family engagement specialists through our school culture climate. And all this is listed on the rmsrdale.org website. So if you have any, additional questions or some of the things that I just mentioned you want to look into, you can also go to the website. Next slide.
All right. So there's also a distance learning school option. And per Governor Wall's mandate, our schools are basically required to offer families remote options. All right. So if you're not comfortable with having your student coming into doing a face-to-face, they can attend in person or to attend in-person classes. You can have them do the distance learning school option. So if you're interested in this distance learning option or remote learning option, you move into a hybrid or face-to-face model, you have to enroll your student in District 281 Learning School. The 281 Distance Learning School. You can do that by going to the website. And so for middle school students, I think it's important to point out that the commitment is for 1 quarter. This is basically in this form. There's a link here. Mr. Hancock just posted it into our chat. If this is something you're interested in, you can definitely click on that link. And if you want to continue your child into staying in a remote learning format, you just have to enroll them. The caveat to this is that this is per quarter. So once you enroll and you're accepted for that quarter, you have to stay until that quarter ends. If you'd like to transition your student back to school at that time, you may do so, but the commitment is for 1 quarter. Okay, next slide, please. All right. Feedback. I think feedback is huge. This is how we grow as a school, is how we grow as a community. And so we need that feedback from the most important people in our district, which is our parents and families. So what's going well when it comes to our current learning model? Those are things that if you would like to answer that now, you could put it in the chat box, but we definitely want to hear your feedback. Next slide, please.
So just like Mr. Purvis had mentioned, getting feedback from our parents is very important to us at RMS. So areas for growth, we want to know, I know with this distance learning, it's all new to everybody, but we want to hear from the families as well. So what suggestions do you have to improve the distance learning experience for your student? So if you want to put that in the chat as well, and we, again, you have our email. If there's anything that you'd like to talk to us specifically, you can also reach out to your admin or your grade level counselor as well. Next slide.
And we also would like to give you the next 8 minutes. We're at 5:22. We'd like to give you the next 8 minutes to put questions in the chat for administrators, Mrs. Mole, Mr. Shelby, Mr. Keck, Mr. Bell. If you have questions that you need answered, I know that Mr. Hancock has been answering questions in our chat. Thank you for doing that as the chat moderator. But at this time, we are definitely wanting to hear from you. What's going well? What suggestions do you have? And what questions may you have moving forward? And if Mr. Hancock would like to ask some of the questions that have been in the chat and voice the answers, that would be great so that other people can hear what those answers were.
So the only question so far has been, how is January 26th chosen as a possible secondary hybrid date? And that answer is based on all of the feedback and planning sessions that the district has conducted with families, staff, and taking all the information into account with regards to the health data that we have. That date was chosen because it is the first day of the second semester. And that was the date based on all the information of the plan that we have, that we looked at safely being able to bring secondary students back into buildings.
Any other questions for any of the administrators or any of our support on the line today?
So
there's another question. has no one thought about screen time and how it is affecting kids? And yes, we have thought about that. And we're doing our best to work with our teachers to make sure that, you know, the lessons that they are delivering and the curriculum that they have and the activities that students have to complete, we are making the most of the online platform. You know, this is a difficult situation for everyone involved, the students, the families, as well as the teachers. And we are trying to take into account the amount of screen time with the planning that our lessons or our teachers are in the lessons that they're attempting to deliver.
That's an excellent question. And I would just like to piggyback to say that as a parent, that has also been a concern of all of us on the line too, because as parents, we want to make sure that the visual health and of course, the screen time is something that we are considering. And so just as a parent, some things that I've done is to make sure that my child, who is a freshman in high school, that once my child is done with school, that we do some things that don't require screen time, like have some family time or, you know, do her homework as much as we can without, you know, it being on the screen. Sometimes she gets to record her homework just by using her phone and a microphone. So trying to think of creative ways and passing that information on to our staff members so that they are also being cognizant of the amount of work that is going on.
Principal Jackson, there was a question about the overall number of students that have left the district this year, choosing other districts with in-person options. And I responded that I do not know the exact number for the whole district, but I do know that Robbinsdale Middle School is down about 70 students right now this year compared to last year.
And I would like to say again that sometimes we don't know the reason why people are leaving for additional schoolings. You know, sometimes our families are moving throughout the summer, which makes it impossible for them to continue to go to Robbinsdale Middle School. But I do know that some of our students and their families have opted for additional learning platforms. But as Mr. Purvis mentioned on his slide, per Governor Walz's mandate, we are offering a virtual learning platform for our students, and some of our students, as well as other Robbinsdale area students, have chosen to go to that model, which keeps them in our school system and keeps them in our building. They can return if they see fit after the quarter into a hybrid or an in-person model if we do in turn go to that model. I think that the question about the number of students who've left the buildings as a whole, you would probably have to ask that at the district level, and Mrs. Marty Voigt or Dr. Megan Hickey or Dr. Barrage would be able to answer the exact number or the approximate number of students who've left because of alternative learning models. Any other questions?
So Miss Myra Epps ended up writing, why can't the teachers contact the students by online to notify kids which class they should be in? Some days it's smooth going from class to class, and other days special needs students don't know what class to go to or what code to enter in the meet.google.com. And so, you know, the join code should be the same for that class. day to day, except, for that class, for that student. So that shouldn't change for that student. That's what it's the best way that I could answer that one. So they should have the same joining code for that particular class. And that should be communicated on the teacher's Schoology page, which they can find. And they should have a link with a join code. And that code doesn't change for that student's class. Oh,
And
Mr. Hancock put it in there.
okay, and Ms. Myra, we also want you to know that if this is a continual problem, that we encourage you to reach out to your child's grade level counselor. Sorry, for 6th grade, the grade level counselor is Mr. Samuel Myers. For 7th grade, the grade level counselor is Mr. Michael Grant. And for 8th grade, the grade level counselor is Mrs. Shirley Backman. Their information is on our website, or you can call us at 763-504-4800 and be connected to your child's counselor. But we are doing everything we can to make sure that your children are able to get into their codes at the right times. And if we are talking about a special needs child, that child also has a case manager, and that case manager should be the first point of contact in order to get the child the right information and to also help the parent to get in there. Any additional questions that have not been answered in the chat? We do want to remind you that this is being live streamed, and this conversation will be added to our website so that if you missed a portion of it, you can go back to the rms.ardell.org website to make sure that you can listen to the entire presentation again.
There was a question about when was it decided that hybrid was not going to happen on October 16th. A couple weeks ago, the district sent an email out district-wide announcing that decision. And the reason November 9th was chosen for K through 5 is based on the state's guidance, looking at positivity rates. They have differentiated as far as when different groups of students can return to school safely. Based on their guidance, elementary students can return with a higher level of positivity rates compared to secondary students. So that's why they're being brought back before the secondary kids.
And this information is on the ardell.org website, as well as the rms.ardell.org website. The Smart Start information is also a tool that is updated regularly. It's on all of our websites as well. We put the information in our chat. That is our Ardell Smart Start information. I highly suggest that you bookmark the Smart Start information to your laptop or to your smartphone and look at it regularly, because as things are changing, we update this information regularly so that parents and community members can have that information. Next slide, please. And so we know that you have a lot of conferences to get to, so we did not want to hold you over. We want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for taking the time, investing the time to be with us and to get more information about our learning models. We want you to please enjoy the rest of your conferences, and please make sure that you get a chance to see any of your children that you get any of our staff members that you have not gotten a chance to see. If you need to make additional arrangements to see other staff members, we are available to have staff members to call you or to email you for additional information. Remember, this presentation is going to be placed on our website, so you can go back and look at the entire presentation. It's also being live streamed at this time. And if there are no further questions, I invite you to go to the rest of your conferences and to enjoy the rest of your night, and to thank you from the RMS staff. And we just appreciate everything that you're doing to help us to educate your children. We really appreciate your input and we appreciate your time. Anybody else want to say anything else?
I
Thank
think
you.
people putting things in the chat, so I don't know if we can get back to the time or how we're going to kind of facilitate that, but there's some things still going in the chat.
Thank you, Mr. Shelby. Okay, so Ms. Epps, we do have a new speech clinician. His name is Mr. Stark Halls, Connor Stark Halls. And if we could get his email in the chat for you, you can email him regarding your son's speech classes. And also, if your son has a case manager, that case manager should also be made aware of the speech class being missing so that we can get that taken care of. And Ms. Epps, I believe that Mr. Purvis is also going to get in touch with you.
Yep. And also Nancy Lupardis Twitchell.
Twitchell, yes.
For speech.
And Marie, the conference call for students, we had one in August for students. And so we encouraged students, if they wanted to be a part of this with their parents, they could definitely have joined this one. But if you want to listen to this again, it is going to be on our rms.ardale.org website.
Thank you, ma'am.
You are most welcome. And if you need anything else, please make sure to reach out to us. Our information is on our website, and you can always call us at 763-504-4800, and you can be directed to any of our voicemails. And with that, please enjoy the rest of your night. We sincerely hope that this has been informational for you. We sincerely hope that you get a chance to speak with your other teachers, and please make sure to keep in touch with us because we want to continue to learn something new every day. Thank you for our support team members to help out. We really appreciate you. Thank you, Ms. Mole, Mr. Shelby, Mr. Keck, Mr. Bell, and of course, thank you, Mr. Purvis, Ms. Anderson, and Mr. Hancock. Thank you all and have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
All right.